I was just saying that your color saturation. Yeah, you're doing it again. You have that. Oh boy, I can hear myself. Why can I hear myself? Where am I up?
What is going on? Why? Why? What is going on? Why?
I
Why?
hear two Teshas.
Why do you, what? Why do you, what?
I think that may have fixed it. Test, test.
Hi, hi, test, test, test. Hi, 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 test, 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 test.
Oh, okay, we're good. We're good. It was the stream manager. Apparently, was both playing and had sound on, which is weird. It never happens. So problem solved. How you guys doing?
I'm good.
I know we.
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I was muted.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say.
I'm good.
Tesh and I literally just had that conversation.
I am here.
Yeah, if you guys didn't watch Tesh this past night, as Tesh and I were just talking about, he was just doing a ton of streaming with some friends of his, and yeah, it was kind of a. I mean, you were playing not Monster Hunter. You're playing what's the other super crazy popular one right now?
Among Us.
Among Us. That's right. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, lying to your friends
Yeah.
and also killing them. It's a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
So
We actually, towards the end, we actually got bored, like, we got worn out of the normal Among Us and started playing hide and seek in Among Us.
I feel like I have to try that out because I don't know. I feel like I mean, I know this sounds really sketchy to say, but I feel like I'm a pretty good liar. You know what I
I'll
mean?
put it this way, I learned that Patrick is a fucking amazing liar.
It's because Pat doesn't have to have facial reactions, right? If you're going based off of facial reactions or alteration of tone, Pat can be rather monotonic. You know what I mean? He can just
Oh,
be
yeah, that's fair,
he
yeah.
can be rather mellow and calm and whatnot, and so he can easily just let things slide off. I use the opposite. I'm always obnoxious, so so he's like, you can never trust what the fuck I'm doing. So
Yeah. Pat mixes in a bit of that chaotic energy with the fact that you just can never tell what if he's evil or not.
yeah, I don't know. I have to give it a try because I feel like apparently like because what's his name there? Tyler's a terrible liar, and I'm like
Oh,
I don't.
he is abysmal. It's hilarious. Like it is so obvious when someone accuses him and he's guilty. It's the best.
I don't know. I have to go look it up and see if it's because my birthday is next week. Is a week from today. It's the 23rd, and so I've been thinking about games that I want to play. I figured I'd post it onto Discord what game I should play for because like we'll play our game in the morning and we'll have Lost Initiative in the evening, and then I'll have a good chunk of the day I'll stream as well. But like also I'll see some of my family some of that day too.
The, there are very few games that like having 10 people in a lobby works, but because you have like the people who are dead and the people who are alive separate, and also the people who are alive are only really talking during the meetings, it doesn't get overwhelming that you have that many people and you get a lot of fun interactions with that many people.
Yeah, well, one of my friends' brothers, I just found out, is streaming and specifically D&D, DMing stuff, and so from time to time I'll start rating him. But I was watching their show recently, and while I know he's an incredible voice actor, the gentleman, the DM I'm talking about, and I know he's a good DM, and I know how because he can make really good stories because. It's my best friend's older brother, so you know I've known him since I was a kid, right? And I know he's really good at making maps and stuff like that. I know his intricate details. I know he has because he's used to be the lead singer of like a screamo band. He'd probably hate me describing it that way, but when you do the squealing pig noise, that's screamo. And he was really good at it, and he's a great musician. So I know he has all this awesome audio equipment and so on and so forth. But then I went and watched for a bit, and I don't mean to crap on it because obviously I'm sure he's telling an awesome story. But I was like, wow, there's 7 PCs. There's 7 PCs, and it's so difficult to, as somebody just kind of jumping in to follow what 7 different people are talking about for the intricacy. It just makes me keep thinking, I'm so happy we usually use a 3-person format, right, Neil?
That's a lot.
Neil, don't you like the 3?
I
I think he's dropping a deuce again.
I feel like for me, I really enjoy a sweet spot of around like well for Pathfinder 3.
Yeah,
No
because it's
more. No
complicated.
more.
Yeah, it gets
Pathfinder is
complicated.
too cool. Yeah. For 5e, I kind of like around 5 on occasion. I don't think a campaign of 5 is no, it's not too bad, but
Yeah,
it's
like
not
one
like
shots or something
optimal.
like that, like a one shot or a mini
Yeah.
series for a few people. Yeah, Tesh, were you with me when I did my 6 PC Star Wars run? I think you were,
Uh
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes I was.
I mean, it was
That
it
was
was
fun.
it was fun.
I
Like,
got murdered.
yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was fun or whatever, but again, like that's not really sustainable beyond one or two, maybe 3 sessions. For me, for my style. And I'm all for
Yeah.
everybody having their own fun at their own table. I'm not going to crap on anybody. If you're enjoying it, that's all that matters. But I don't know. I feel like once you get to 4 PCs, it feels like there's always somebody in the back burner. I mean, honestly, when you have Neil on a series, you automatically always have somebody in the back burner, right? Right, Jake? Jake?
That was good timing.
Oh, sorry.
Uh
He's so used to not talking, you know.
yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah.
It's also different too, Green, when you're sitting at a table. Having people in the back burner at a physical table is less bad because you're physically removed from one another. Sound is different. So let's say, for instance, you're at the table that's behind me, which you've all seen before. If you're at the table behind me, if I was a DM sitting at one end cap, I could have 2 people sitting relatively near to me, 2 people sitting relatively near to that, and then one person sitting at the other end cap, right? So there's 5 people, 5 PCs spread out with a DM at the end. You can easily have some cross conversation with people at the end, either from across the table or to the person at the end, or even whispered conversations side by side without really disrupting the table, the momentum, story, and everything going on. They can have their side chatter and still half listen to what the DM's saying, and the rest of the PCs are more or less not disrupted. But when you're
Yeah.
feeding your sound into 1 or 2
One
channels,
thing, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't really work out that way. You unfortunately just talk over each other, so it leads to text-based side chatter, which lacks nuance and whatnot of, and rapid and I don't know. Anyways, it's just different. So I've done 5 PCs before, but even physically, 3 was always my favorite, always. So I don't know.
That's fair.
Yeah. So anyways, what I was gonna say is my daughter starts school on my birthday, so that's gonna be fun. I get to bring her to school on my birthday. But then, the school systems around me started school 2 days ago. So today would be day 3 for depending on what school it is, whether it be high school or whatever it is. COVID outbreaks started happening in the school systems both yesterday and the day before. So Brittany and I now have to go and reevaluate whether or not we're going to be sending Aurora to school this year.
Yeah, it's yeah.
As literally day 1, there was an outbreak in the high
That's
school.
yeah, that's not a good sign.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I know that like her group, because she's kindergarten, so it's before, no, she's preschool, which is like before kindergarten. Like it's like the earliest of the early. It's something that she kind of had to get accepted into here. It's not something that you can just it's that time and send your kid into, right? So it's kind of elective to put her into it. And I know that they're being pretty good. They've made the group super small. They've shortened the class times. They've eliminated a lot of things to like keep things safe, so on and so forth. So they've done all this extra stuff, and I've been through the orientations through Zoom. But despite all that, her direct teacher, who I absolutely love, she's a wonderful woman, has 3 children. Because of their ages, each of them are in different schools. So that is, each child has, I don't know, what's that, 1,000 times the exposure for that one house.
Jesus.
Yeah, 3 children, 3 different schools, and then she's also in a school, and it's just like, oh man, like there's no way to contact trace all that fun stuff. So,
Just
yeah.
yeah.
I bring it up because I have no idea what my future holds now. With this, I have to have a conversation with the boss lady later on today and be like, this is what we're thinking. We have no idea what's going on. But I wanted to ask you, Jake, you obviously have children that are in the age of school. Is this really a concern for you guys? Because you're in Australia and your numbers are like. Is it even really a big concern for you guys?
I mean, it was a while ago,
Yeah, like last
but
year.
not
Yeah.
so much now.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
when does school start for you?
Like the school year.
Yeah.
It starts February, like the 1st, I think.
Oh my God. I got so confused. It's because your
Yeah,
school year would
I'm
obviously
confused.
it would obviously go opposite. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
sorry. Because it's seasonal. It makes sense to be seasonal, and we start school in September. If you're in college in August here. Oh God, that threw me off so hard.
I'm still confused. Your school year starts when?
For
there's
college,
this-
August. For regular school or like primary school, whatever you call it, or secondary, whatever, September.
Yeah.
Because you're going into the
It's
fall.
flipped with the seasons. It's flip.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that makes. Again, it's one of those things where things are different, but then you forget.
It's funny because I just the amount of times like that, and especially the seasons thing. I'm like, I wait for people to realize that like it's flipped. I'm like, wait, there's the realization.
Yeah. 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 I have to agree with Viking. It's Tesh's background that's confusing me. It's throwing me off.
What? What did you do? What did you do to my? What did you do to my background?
No, it's it's just representational of
Oh,
um.
I didn't choose this background. He did.
Anyways, so yeah, that's sorry, I forgot. So it's not a concern. Like you guys don't have any outbreaks in your schools or anything like that, do you?
There's been a couple in not where I live, but in Sydney. There's been a few schools that have had to close for like deep cleans and stuff like that. But there's been like one student. There hasn't been any transmission through the schools yet.
No, it's been day 1 and day 2, and there's been a lot. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm
well,
just
I
talking
mean,
about local. I'm not even talking about countrywide. Where
I mean, the thing is, like America doesn't even remotely have it under control at the moment. So, like,
but did you hear about the schools where the early on there were teachers, so their parents and students that rushed the school, no masks or anything like that, as part of a protest to not have to wear masks in school. So they rushed the school super early in the morning, and it's like,
the people who refuse to wear masks, it's just a level of stupidity and selfishness that it's so hard for me to comprehend.
yeah, it's rough.
It's a bare minimum to literally save lives, and I don't understand
I'm just like,
why.
I don't know. Anyways, I don't know.
I got something funny for you, right?
Okay, sure. Cheer us up.
We've
Cheers
got
to
hard border closure. No, we got hard border closures with a lot of the states here.
Oh yeah.
Right, but it was funny because the Queensland Premier, right, which is one of our states, she has like a rather tough border stance, and there's been like a lot of issues around it, right? So our Prime Minister has been outspoken about opening the borders back up, so tourism, domestic tourism, and stuff can start boosting the economy, right? So the Queensland Premier, which is like your governors over there, right? She said today in the news that the Prime Minister was not allowed into Queensland unless he quarantines for 14 days and pays $2,800. So could you imagine one of your governors saying to Trump, you can't come into this state unless you quarantine?
I mean, that's pretty amazing. Unfortunately, I mean, it would be a political gesture. It wouldn't be an actual, like, they couldn't actually make that rule because they're both executive branch and one of them is higher than the other one. But either way, that's pretty funny. That's pretty funny as like a stance, so I don't know. That'd be amazing.
We had someone in Western Australia trying to sue the government for like it was like 30 million because they wouldn't open up the borders when like it was really bad in Victoria. It's just like, what the? They're trying to save your life. Fuck off.
Yeah. I don't know. The whole thing's nutty. And for the most part, I've just been like, you do you, I do me. We all figure this out. I feel bad for your neighbors, But now that it's we're pushing the.
I just read what Viking said.
Yeah. Flop down the ruler and asked him to measure. Yeah, I know. That was funny. So actually, my again mentioned
30 billion. Oh my god, that's right. It was 30 billion. It was an insane amount.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I don't know. Either way, that's. Well, I mean, it's 30 billion Australian, so it's only like a couple $100, I think. So it's not so bad. So she asked for a couple shiny pieces of coal, clean coal. So I mentioned because I happened to spend time with my best friend the other day because he just got a new position with a new company because he unfortunately got laid off when COVID first started because his old company, the division that he was a part of was QC of manufacturing over in China of like all this hardware that they use for their software company. It was a relatively new division. It's only like a year and a half old of that company. So when they were like, fuck it, we're shutting this down. COVID's too much, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, cut out his position. So he got let go. So he's just got a new job. And Monday was his first day. So we like celebrated and had way too much scotch. We had, we drank like 3/4 of a bottle shared of scotch. So I was like, oh man. Anyways, I haven't drank that much in a while. So,
nice.
Yeah. What was the point of this conversation? And he was he has a little one too. He has his daughter's 8. His daughter's 8. And so we were talking about like just the whole school thing and so on and so forth. And unfortunately, just the people he deals with because he has family similar to like my extended family where they're like Trump,
Trump.
right? And so he's talking, of course, to some of his family because he's not smart enough to cut them out like I am. And he was like, well, some of them are just like, oh, what's the likelihood that a kid gets sick? And what's the likelihood? He's like, yeah. Okay, here are your numbers, Let's say a kid gets sick. It's not that big of a deal. The ones that actually show symptoms that are worth noting other than like sniffles or whatever that is like, let's say 1 in 10,000 that shows symptoms worth noting. And then let's say how many of those kids actually have permanent damage. Let's say permanent loss of some of their sense of smell, permanent loss of some of their sense of taste, or, death, something like that. You know what I mean? Now let's say how many millions of students exist across the 326 million person country that we have here. Let's talk about how many millions of students exist across this country when usually the number under 18 is pretty friggin' huge for 325 million people, and then contact trace that up to, so on and so forth. So, it's not a big deal if 1,000 children die? 5,000? How many kids are we willing to pay the death toll for? 10,000? Is 10,000 kids enough dead? Is that okay? Is that like the number we're willing to accept as the world's greatest country? 10,000 dead kids? Okay. Maybe we can just swallow 10,000 dead kids. That's not the end of the world, right? I don't know. It's just. I don't know.
That shit really pisses me off. Like,
I don't know. It was a combination of that, and then the next 2 days getting newsletters from the school that Brittany and I are just like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Anyways, I don't know. That's a dark way to start the session, but considering where we left off with Crawl, I felt appropriate.
Oh yeah, I missed what happened. What happened last time?
I will allow Tesh. Wow.
Well, it's already beginning. It's already beginning.
I'll allow Tesh to hear from Jake a 30-second recap of how the end of your session last week went.
I'll do you one better. I'll recap the whole thing in 30 seconds. All right, ready?
That'd be pretty quick.
Yeah. All right, so we started out, Raerin talked to Octavia and got her to agree that she's going to be bound to that thing and, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, then Raerin started being Raerin and talking smack. And then we went for a walk and we went through a storm and now we're in a different time. And there's a bunch of mole and Raerin is now a slave, and he got beat for talking out of turn, apparently. And he tried to take advantage of a Perrin woman, and that's where we left off.
Okay.
He didn't try to take advantage of her. He's like, oh, here's a slave girl. Let me flirt with the slave. Hey, slave. How you doing? Hey.
You look at gold.
Yeah.
I am uncomfortable.
To be fair, he is a slave too.
Oh, God.
Oh, that guy's in chat now? Is that why you're saying, oh, God?
No, just that creepiness that I just heard.
That just occurred, yeah.
Yeah. No, he did get double bitch slapped, though. So, I mean, I suppose honestly, if you're looking at it from a combination of Neil and Raerin's perspective, he got slapped in the face twice. He needs somebody to kiss it better. You know what I mean? He's like, I got slapped twice. I need someone to make me feel better. Aww. I put on the baby voice, but I turned off voice mod. Otherwise, I would turn it back. That's not my BP. But I have voice mod currently not on to try to hopefully clean up my sound. I think it might still be staticky. Yeah, it is. It's still a little staticky. I might have to just replace a wire because I think I coiled one up too tight, and that's what caused the semi-permanent issue. So, anyways, does that catch you up, Tesh?
Yeah.
The fun part was, and we didn't address this last week. 2 weeks ago, Tesh, when you were here, you guys were inside. You went with them to Visual, right?
Yeah.
Like you were there for that fight that took place with the specters.
Yes.
Yeah, and then more or less we went from there to the military camp, and then they left the military camp and headed north, and we just didn't address what happened to Ilen, because
Oh, good.
yeah, I was trying to be like, is there a way that we could have Ilen be involved? But he's just kind of like retro say he was involved the whole time, but there's no way to include you went to the past and there wasn't reaction. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. So you're still with, General Jaeger, having them bombs. So the two of them head north, and we can just assume the reason why they went that way is maybe you were heading to Hodgwen instead. Let me go to Kroll first, and then we'll go back to you. Before we fully jump into it, I finally got Brittany to say yes. She will handle, like, if I upload the videos, getting them prepared to actually post and schedule onto YouTube. I don't know when we're gonna have time. I'm hoping over the course like next week and a half or so to get that started. But the cool thing about that is I'll be able to just after each hour, during the break, upload the video, and then Brittany will handle it later on. So sometime in the future, this will actually be consistent. It's just a matter of figuring out, because we actually talked about this several days ago, and then as I just described, things went awry. But that does mean for me to get things uploaded and caught up. Don't click that bell.
The way you said that, it's just I don't know. I found that real funny.
Yeah, that's all good. So, all right, let's go back to you first, sir. And the reason I mentioned YouTube is if somebody just wants to drop that pin right here in case everybody else wants to skip all of our fun chatter, because in 2025, when somebody stumbles across this channel and they're like, what's COVID? We're going to be like,
Our generation is going to have just so much collective trauma from this year. This fucking year.
Yeah. What is it? PCTD, right? Post-COVID trauma disorder? Or no, was it PTSD? Oh, there we go. Post-traumatic stress disorder. There we go. PCSD. Post-COVID stress disorder. That's what we're going to get. All right. Do you think it's going to be gone in 2025? I think it'll be hopefully managed by 2025. I think it's with us for the rest of human existence, just like the influenza and a few other things we
Yeah,
deal
I
with.
think it's for
Like-
good, pretty much.
Yeah, herpes, influenza, and a few others. That's just what you deal with. Right, Jake? You know about the herp, right?
I don't know how to. I don't know how to go from there. I went to have some witty comeback, and my words just got caught in my mouth.
It's one of those, got it from your mom. You know, like, oh, okay, well then. All right, so let's go into Krull. Let's go pull it down to Krull. When we last left off, it was pouring out, but despite that fact, Krull was able to keep relatively comfortable over by that massive roaring fire. It was burning so brightly and so hot.
Are you okay? What did I miss? What the fuck did I miss?
Sorry. Do we just start over? I'm just going to do the away screen for a second. Let's just start over. All right.
What did I miss?
Am I muted?
No, I will. 1 second here. Give me 1 second. Going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Aurorum Kingmaker Season 5? Session 5? Are we? What is it? How did it go in the 90s? Wasn't it like 5x5? Or is that how it went? It was like 5x5. Isn't that what the old phrase was? I remember I didn't know it was a cool phrase at the time, except for through watching Faith's character from Buffy and Angel, who used to say that all the time. And then much later on found out that was apparently a hip phrase on the West Coast. But on the East Coast, we definitely didn't say 5x5. Because it's supposed to be like more or less like, how you doing? I'm square. Like I'm good. Like it's solid. 5x5. Oh boy. Anyways, the 90s, that's a microcosm.
Man, I miss Buffy.
You don't have to. You can actually get it today. Act now, and you can get all seasons on Blu-ray for. So, when we left off, Krull was sitting down by the was standing in front of a fire. It was a massive roaring flame over at the fire note. There were the others doing the experimentation. Originally, the Emperor, he wanted to hopefully see the crystals that they were working on, to use it to kind of like set the date of when it was that you guys might be, under the assumption you're no longer in your time zone. You're no longer in your time in the world, you know what I'm saying? So, but then he no longer needed that. Standing by that fire, which is roaring so bright and so hot, that honestly, not only did it keep you warm and start drying you, but it kind of kept the water off you, the rain off you as well, because it was evaporating the water immediately around it. So you were kept much drier and warmer than you were before. Sharing a drink and a conversation with a nearby mole, you were able to discover that apparently what's going on right now, and Neil in his own way was able to discover that what's going on right now is not only the experiments or whatever, but in this world, in this time, is apparently a group of imperialists and a group of separatists that have some sort of political thing happening inside this country, inside the Mole Empire. You don't fully understand the implications of that, because when you ask the Emperor, who you imagine is probably an imperialist, being the, Emperor, he more or less was like, I don't want to talk about this right now. I'm so far removed from like when I am that, because he was dead for hundreds of years, and then is brought back to life. He was brought back to life in a tortured existence, where not only was he insatiably hungry, but he had to listen to Neil give speeches. I mean, listen, coming back to life, to that, everybody you know and care about, everything, the whole world you know is dead, and Neil is giving you speeches. God, no wonder why he was hungry for eating people. He just needed something to get him through the day. And Neil's speeches. So he just wanted to be able to relax and enjoy the the time, the smell of the air, the feel of the world around him. As he told you when you were still with in Jaeger's camp, he could feel a pull out here, which is kind of what helped lead to your wanting to come out this direction as well. It's kind of what led you to here. Knowing there's some sort of pull, it makes sense why he just is enjoying the moment. You decided to give him that peace. And so you chose to stand there in a degree of peace, staring into the roaring fire. Kroll has seen many massive fires in his past, and he's even gone through, or I think you said grew up in, the city of Drazstone, which is, or I should say the town of Drazstone, which has some pretty massive forges. Those forges sometimes have massive fires inside them. Sometimes you burn it bright to then get your coals rather quickly, and then burn it low so you can do your smelting and forgery. Anyways, nothing like this though. And we've all been able to stare into the beauty of a fire, whether it be by a campfire or, if you live in California or Australia, you've been able to see the beauty of a fire, but your character has never seen a fire this large because he's neither Californian nor Australian. And so he can kind of like take in the beauty of it. As Kroll's standing there, is he, what's kind of like going through his mind? Is he like peacefully just enjoying it? Does he have anything that he's trying to accomplish? Or is he just allowing, I suppose, the minutes pass by that he himself never thought he would have again, as he himself also stood at death's door with one step through the threshold before being pulled back with this unholy union you have with the Emperor?
Currently, his mind's racing about how they are in the past, and he's not sure, looking around, if he wants to stay. He doesn't want to go back. So he's gave the Emperor some time, but he definitely has some questions when he comes back, because the Emperor felt the pull, and he knew that he knew where we were in time. So he's probably got some questions at that point, but he'll probably just take it in and really just enjoy the company, I guess, of the other mole.
Okay. I mean, it's true, because even though it's funny, because I often describe this world, especially Adir, as being mole heavy. They make up 40-50% of, I'd say about in Adir, they make up probably 40% of the populace in this one chunk of land alone. And again, it's funny because you don't often see that represented with the NPCs we come across, just because maybe they're NPCs created by patrons, or just ones that I need for certain story elements and so on and so forth. But yeah, it's they are very mole heavy, and your character coming into the regions that have been kind of since redefined as being slightly less mole heavy, it might be nice, or I say hobgoblin heavy, it might be nice for him to be around more of his own, homogeny, like his own people. But then beyond that, it's his cultural history that he's never experienced before. So being able to witness this and hearing a language that he's apparently very fluent in, which is probably coming from the Emperor, right? It's kind of it's nice. It's nice to just like sit there and bask it in. I almost imagine it's like a it's hard for me to have this kind of experience because America, but it's almost like I don't know. I were to go back to my own roots. Let's say, God, I'm trying to think of a really good example here. I honestly can't even think of one. But going back to like your ancestral roots and watching those roots kind of play out before you in such like a beautiful way. Maybe your grandparents always talked about they grew up in the moors of Scotland or whatnot, and then you actually are able to go with them to visit the place and see the house that they grew up in and the tavern that they, often went to when they were under 18 years old, getting schmammered because not America, and whatnot. So, anyways, it's just nice for you. So he's kind of standing there soaking it in, but has no plans or anything, just enjoying it.
For the moment, yeah.
You know that Raerin kind of walked off, had his own bit of conversation. You think you saw him having with the slave. Raerin can take care of himself. He's literally the king of the lands that you happen to be in now, but not now, or I don't know, whatever. He's fine. He's got lots of weapons. He's fine. And he walked off into a building. You think it's not a big deal. What you know is that the Emperor ends up saying to you in your mind, what he ends up saying to you is, perhaps we need rest. We should probably stay and spend the night, maybe more, gather our strength with how long these travels have been. Not with that fool, but our travels. It's taxing, both in spirit and body, to both of us, to be joined the way we are. Perhaps we can stay and rest for a while. Roll me a sense motive. Take it as you will.
He'll probably say, yes, I'm tired, but I'm happy, which is all that I've been in a while. I have some questions for you. You know a lot more than you say. You need me. And I need you. And I know that you'll do whatever you can to get your own body back, or to get free of me. While we are joined, we have a common interest. Think on how it is we have come here in this time. I'll ask you again in the morning, as well as some other questions, and we will formulate what to do next.
Yes. The morning. Let's speak then. Let's allow this storm to pass. It sets a gloomy mood. Rest and drying ourselves. This is what we need.
And he will sit by the fire a little more, maybe just engage in some meaningless conversation, and he'll rest.
We're going to skip away from you for a little bit, and we're going to pull our attentions over to the flat earth theory gentleman over here. And I still can't believe that there's a person I know that works for my company that believes in the flat earth theory. And it's funny too.
Is it really?
Yeah. I met him. He's kind of young. He's maybe like 23, 22. And I met him and we had this whole conversation about it. And since then, like when I've spoken to other people, like he'll come up in conversation and I'll be like, do you know he believes in a flat earth theory? And like there's always like a pause. Like the conversation usually goes like this, like, oh, by the way, did you know, we'll call him Dan because that's not really his name. Be like, did you know Dan believes in the flat earth theory? And there'll be a pause and they'll be like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, we had a whole conversation about it for like over an hour about, one time a while ago. And he was talking about how he believes in the flat earth and there's no way to prove otherwise and so on and so forth. Like, isn't that crazy? And the response is, yeah, I can see that. And when people's response about whether or not you believe in the flat earth is, yeah, I can see that, that's like, oh man.
Oof.
Yeah. It's like, uh-oh. So anyways, all right, continuing on. So you, Tesh,
Yes.
after you guys had left, Vigil, you never fully retreated from Vigil. You went to the borders of Vigil and you called to Octavia. There was a bit of a conversation with her, wherein she said she will do what she can to try to convince the others to go along with the binding. Rolls were made, conversation was had, so on and so forth. Then you guys made your way around the lake and spoke to the leaders of Vigil and tried to convince them to leave their lake, to leave their city. And don't get me wrong, the results of those rolls were insanely high. But also what you were asking of them was more or less, it's asking you to abandon your home.
Yeah.
Like, the only way to save your home is to leave it. Leave it unguarded? Yes. So how's it going to be saved? Trust me. I'm your ally. I'm totally
Wink,
trustworthy.
Wink, nudge, nudge.
I'm just giving you the pragmatic decision. Anyways, so that's kind of like the conversation that happened with the leadership of Vigil, and it more or less left them to a debate, with some people saying it's probably a good idea, others being somewhat on the fence, and a very small amount of opposition to the idea. Either way, that's where you guys had left it, gone to General Yeager, told General Yeager, we need you to head back, like retreat back a little bit and give them some berth so that they can also retreat back. And he was more or less like, I can do that, but understands like this encampment here we've sat in for so long and been to so many times, it would actually be really easy for me to set up a fort here, or at least a watchtower or whatnot, because you know the land so well. But the heading back, that's going to be a very subpar kind of situation to be putting ourselves into. We'll deal with it, but understand that. We'll act as late as possible. That was the conversation that happened. So when you, Ilen, have this conversation, the rain is horrible. And I mean absolute downpours outside, cats and dogs. And it goes on for a while. It was miserable to be caught into, and then finally get to the camps. And it's one of those rainfalls where, occasionally every few hours a soldier has to go over to where the wooden spikes or stokes or whatever they're called, sticking up underneath in the ground and up and holding up the tents. They have to occasionally go over and lift them to allow the water to pour off the top,
yeah.
and water's kind of leaking through the canvas that makes the tents and whatnot. Raerin and them decide to stay. You have a conversation, totally happens, where they decide they're going to head north and to go check out the Western Keep, and the idea that there's something that could potentially be lying beneath it. You were, instead of heading north, going to head to Hardgwen? Ilen?
I am.
Yeah.
What's happened? I
Definitely didn't go with them. Definitely not in the past with them. Or Herod. Could go to Herod and check out the situation to the south.
That's probably, that could work.
Right? Like with all these crazy downpours and everything that's happening, maybe going to Herod. Thanks, Steve.
Because we know that they were setting up the stuff here. They were, remember, they were
free folk.
extending. No. Harrod were also extending towards the lake. That was a thing that they decided
Oh,
to
that's
do.
right. That's right. That's right.
So, like, trying to do that right now, might as well go see how they're holding up with that.
Sure. So heading south to Harrod, is this something that Ilen would do on his own, or would he bring any amount of guard with him?
I mean, it'd be one of those things where he would think about going on his own, think, I should bring some guard. So he would get some guards.
Yeah, 2 guards
just
to go with
'cause-
him. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, bringing the guards with you was kind of nice because the trek is rather miserable. It is rather miserable. When the you're heading south. I mean, if you look at the distance, it's only about 21 miles. You should be able to cover that, maybe with a little bit of a hard push here or there, in one day on horseback. The rainfall is so heavy that, unfortunately, it takes you more than a day just to get there. It's painful.
Wow.
Yeah. So your horses keep getting kind of like stuck in the mud and moving slow. They run out of breath because of how hard it is to carry you on top of it and your equipment and everything. You just have to give it more time to take breaks. And unless you're really trying to push this beast, but Ilen's not the kind of person to be like, work for me, pony.
Yeah.
It's like, welcome to
He
Ilen's
definitely
dungeon.
wouldn't be.
You know, that'd be kind of funny. Like Ilen as a master, he's like, "What are you tired? Lesser restoration. Get back to work."
The funny thing is, I could see him doing that to like when someone in a like similar sort of position where if someone's doing something for him and they get worn out, I can see him doing that as like I'm helping you, and then not realizing that side of it.
Yeah, like I just wanted a cheese stick. Like I just needed a snack, man. And you're like, "Here's a good berry. Get out of my face." And you're like, "Oh God." Like, just think about druid, taskmasters, just casting lesser restoration and Goodberry to keep efficient timekeeping. What were we saying?
I want to tell you very quickly about probably the most hilarious use of Goodberry I've ever seen, where a familiar that was an owl, so it had Goodberry was cast, and the owl stashed the good berries on it. During the fight, whenever someone went down, the Goodberry owl came down and force-fed them a Goodberry. And it flew off, and it was the medic owl.
Yeah, was it? Now, everybody, I know that's more of a sound of an eagle, but Jake's here and he gets confused. So it's, just saying.
A callback and a half.
Yeah. So anyways, all right, so yeah, that is pretty funny. The idea of force feeding though is like, imagine an owl landing on your shoulder and like this huge talon just kind of, like, oh God, ow. It's like, it's okay, I heal the wound as you eat it. It's like you bite into the berry, it squirts the juice onto the wound that the talon just ripped open your skin with, and doesn't necessarily clean out the disease that gets closed in behind that wound though. Just saying, have some fun with that one, DM. Some filth fever coming from your nasty bird. No, it's a familiar. It washes its talons. Sure.
That's okay. We got our just desserts in that fight by someone attempting to summon some small demons into the fray to cause chaos because we were literally fighting an angel. So they decided to try and summon a small demons, and they used the blood of technically a celestial. So it didn't summon a small demon. Summoned a bone devil.
We don't know about bone devils, do we, Tash?
Oh
No?
yeah,
No?
it was a fun time.
So wait, you were fighting angels. Was Neil in that campaign?
No.
Oh, just asking. No reason. All right. So, anyways, so continuing. That's the one with Josiah, right?
Yes.
What, the Root and Tootin' campaign?
Yes,
Yeah.
and that then you probably know what angel it was as well because it's the Strahd one. Yeah.
I've never read the Strahd books, but I
Oh,
understand
really?
overall. Yeah. No. I don't really like pre-made things, but the what was I saying? That I won't lie. Just hearing the stories from the various PCs and DM involved in that thing, I honestly wish that became like a animation short thing. Like each session being broken down, it's like a 7 or 10 minute animation.
There are some insane things that have happened in that campaign
Oh
just
yeah,
because it's like because it's not a streamed or recorded thing. We just the shit that like we come up with and that happens is utterly
Yep,
insane.
and because it's not streamed or recorded or anything like that, there's zero accountability. So if you are retelling the story from memory and you have to change a little detail here or there, either due to the haze of memory or to make it right, like it could totally be like that campaign would be an amazing like 7 to 10 minute short animated thing, but you have to
It
know an
would.
animator and anyways. So so yeah, anyways, continuing, my apologies. So you'd be heading south and it's not an easy trek heading down in that direction. It just is not easy for you to do so. As you're heading down in that direction, I mean, you're wading your way through the horrible storms and whatnot, but you feel a strange feeling coming from within, almost like a strange calling or pulling coming from within. It's hard to place what it is, but you almost feel this magnetism to the north. You're heading south. You know you're heading south. You're maintaining your pace heading south, but you feel the strange magnetism to the north, and it's almost like a small nagging itch, you know, like if you were sitting there at a table with your friends hanging out and everybody's, I don't know, sharing like a bowl of candy that's sitting there and there's the last piece. And like there's 5 of you sitting at the table and there's 1 piece of candy left. And you get that nagging itch like, do I get the last piece? Like I want it, but like it might.
Is it at all like the pull that I originally felt coming into a deer?
I want to say yes, it is, but far weaker. It's far less urgent. You just kind of, and that,
Yep.
mind you, the pull into a deer brought you north, funny enough. But yes, but far weaker, far less urgent. It's just almost like a nagging feeling is the only way I can really describe it, you know?
I think at that he would then turn around and head towards that feeling, because that the only time he's ever sort of felt that it was something he needed to do, even if it wasn't, as you say, it doesn't feel as strong. It's still a pull.
When you were heading south, and as I said, you have to make camp on your trek to the south, it's probably during that night that you probably come to the conclusion, I don't know, it feels unusual. Maybe get a night's rest and then start heading north in the morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that okay? So that morning, you inform your soldiers that are accompanying you, let's not head this direction. Let's head north. I need to go north. Your soldiers would ask, Chosen, sir, why is it that we're heading back the way we came?
Well, I'll put it this way. The same thing that, or at least a very similar feeling to what brought me to this land in the first place, is pulling me that way.
Back to the camp?
I don't know if it's to the camp, just something to the north.
Okay, but you did just suddenly get a little bit louder. It's strange, almost like your microphone was gaining more gain, but you don't need to yell at me, sir. We'll follow you north if that's what you prefer.
Did it really just randomly? Am I super loud now?
Yeah.
Let me fix that.
Am
That
I?
is
Am I? You don't need to
super
accost
weird.
me.
You are really loud, Tesh.
I'm agreeing.
It
I'm
is.
agreeing with you, Chosen. Yeah. I know you're Chosen of the Hearth. I was hoping to be by one soon.
Val wouldn't yell at me.
Yeah.
I don't.
Oh,
Oh
ouch.
God, Windows 10 settings are the worst.
They are.
Okay, is that better?
Say it again.
Hello, is that better? Testing,
Yeah,
testing,
You're
testing.
much better. Sorry.
It randomly jumped up to 100%. Don't know what did it.
So Windows 10 is. I'm not gonna say it's the worst because it's not. We all factually know it's not. But
There are definitely operating systems that were worse.
yeah.
But yes, it's pretty bad. What I can't understand is it keeps getting worse.
I mean, it's like any edition of a tabletop. The longer it's around, the more shit you add to it, the more heavy it gets, the more bugs you encounter, right? Like that was the downfall of every edition of D&D in the past is you add more books, more supplements. Developers didn't realize how this mixes with that and it breaks the system. Happens across the board, right? Well, same thing with code, but you know,
pardon me.
millions of times worse. So
Yeah, it's just. Anyway.
You know, I'm drinking 2-day-old coffee that I microwaved. I really wish coffee was like, you know, alcohol where the longer it sat there, it just got stronger. Like if it was just like coffee sit there, just aged.
That would be
and had more-
amazing.
right?
I would only ever need one coffee a day because I take so long to drink it.
Yeah. Just like let it sit in like a counter for like a week. Just like really build up that.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Just. You just start vibrating.
Yeah, it's like what do they call it? Dry aged steak. It's like the steak that you leave at room temperature for like it's like a year and a half, and it just like gains mold and stuff like that on the outside. But then you cut off the outside of the steak, and then you cook the inside, and it's like some of the most delicious steak you could ever have.
I would
in your
never
life.
trust that.
Oh, no,
I
no,
could
no.
never trust
It's
that.
at like super high end restaurants and stuff like that.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's like fucking blow your mind good. Because like the way that the rot on the outside happens, it tenderizes the meat on the inside. It's like
my anxiety brain is screaming at that.
and very well it should from like you know, just a reactionary thing. I remember when I first heard about it, I was like, what? But
my lizard brain's just like, no, you die.
no,
Stop.
lizard brains say yes. Lizard brains say meat.
No, lizard brains say bad.
All right.
Lizard brains say
my
don't
mouth
want to
is
die.
like watering at the thought.
Have you ever had it before, Jake? Yeah. I have. I think twice ever, and holy shit, it's like it's not meat. It's heaven. You know what I mean?
Getting really hungry.
Yeah, it's really good. I don't know. It's like the first time you heard Neil give a speech. It's like, oh my god, this is just so good. So he's not here. I have to shit on him. It's fun. Besides, he likes it. He says, draws an X. So you sorry, Tesh. You say to them, it's the same pole that brought me to this land. We need to head north. And so he says, okay, Chosen, if we must. You travel that entire day back north again. Now, technically speaking, going from the direction that you were, going straight north, I should say northeast is the most efficient way. It is barely out of your way, but that evening you would be able to spend in the encampment again, the soldiers' encampment. So it's kind of like, so more or less 2 days later, or whatever it is.
Hi, we back.
Almost 2 days later, you pull back into the camp, and General Yeager would be like, Chosen, is everything all right?
I'm not sure. I feel a pull similar to what brought me to Adir in the first place, but different, weaker. But I feel something to the north.
I can't speak to these things. I don't understand them.
I mean, I don't either. Just learning as I go.
Your microphone got loud again. Are you upset with me as well? I mean, I am the general of your army.
What the fucking...
It could be Zoom had a big update, and maybe you just got Zoom's update, so it's auto-adjusting your volume.
It is constantly adjusting my volume. Let me see if I can...
Turn off auto-adjust in your settings.
Yes, there it is. Automatically adjust settings. Fuck off. I hate that button.
Yeah, both
There we
Zoom
go.
and Windows will add that back in as part of an update, which is frustrating. But it's like they should locally store your preferred settings, and then after the update's complete, reapply your preferred settings. But it never works that way.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, no, it's annoying. But all right. So, anyways, so he's like, well, I'd like to, offer aid in accompanying to the north, but unfortunately, with the rains being as they are, we would just risk the safety and the well-being of the soldiers to do so.
I understand. Small guard. I can protect them if something goes wrong. So the irony of that is lost on Ilen, but not lost on me.
Might I ask you something? As being the new chosen, so a bit of an outside perspective, while being on the innermost rung of this society we're building here.
Of course.
This plan we have for Vigil, using a ritual to try to resolve the problem. I don't understand these things either. I know that there was a ritual that was used by the Chosen of the Blade and his two companions to save my life at one point. But this is something else. What's your opinion of this and the plan?
So, what exactly is the plan? Just from me missing last time.
As you guys understood it, leaving that session 2 sessions ago, and then kind of like the way Neil was talking about it, leaving last week, he's hoping to use the ritual to bind all of the specters and shadows and ghosts and whatnot that are inside the city, binds them to the actual what's that thing called? Connectivity may have been interrupted. To the, what the hell is it called? The monuments that's inside. They were shooting the sacrifice before, and then yeet that thing to another plane of existence, hopefully taking those spirits with it.
Right. Okay. I wish there were other options. We have unfortunately explored quite a few, and it looks like the deal that they made, the ritual that they used so long ago, has locked them quite efficiently to that object, to the monument.
I know it sounds rather crass to suggest such a thing, but is there no aid of the Martyr, of the Arbiter, or of Vroga that can break this, I suppose, break these chains?
I think, from what I understand, I understand that the deal, the ritual and deal was made with the Arbiter. Yeah.
And when he was, mortal-ish.
Yeah. From what I understand, the original ritual and deal was made with the Arbiter when he was like he was before.
The ghastly figure, the ghostly figure that was discussed in the past.
Indeed.
If he made the deal, could he not end it?
If he wasn't being besieged, maybe.
And how about the Martyr?
From what I can tell, she is staying out of it. And also, I believe she is aiding the Arbiter in whatever is happening in the other planes. I see your point, though. I will try and, at the very least, prey on if there's any last-ditch option. But unfortunately, it seems the deal they made may have sealed them.
And not to press the issue further, and not to sound crass, but just because one is not here doesn't mean that Vroga has turned his back on us, does it? Is the god's favor so fickle?
I wouldn't think so. I hadn't considered that. Thank you. That may be worth a shot.
I'm just concerned about the well-being of our soldiers. Equipping them with the means to fight these things and to destroy them as an avenue that I'm willing to pursue. The idea of using some ritual to resolve the problem in one fell swoop sounds nice. It sounds like a fairy tale. A nice, easy, and clean ending, and certainly one that I wish to come true to save the lives of my soldiers and what potential horrors can befall them. But
having been through those walls, if we can avoid combat at any cost.
You have a perspective that's greater than my own. I have encountered them to a degree, but nothing like you have. I just... When things sound too good to be true, I get concerns, but then again, I also have to open my eyes and see the world around me. We have Val's spirit, as good of a man as he was, literally resting in you, as seen by others who witnessed it. We have the will of Grishka literally bringing me back from the grave, something that I had never encountered before and only heard rumors of, distant fairy tales, and by, I suppose, a mistake by the Arbiter. We had the dead walk. Again, only stories from the East. These are things that are beyond my ability.
I've only been here a couple months, right? I was
Yeah.
about to say, yeah. So, if you tried to tell me even a fraction of the things that I've been through a year ago, I probably would have laughed in your face.
We both come from a similar backgrounds. Well, we both come from a similar culture.
Yeah.
This land is sat as a nestled neighbor to us for so long. And not once did we realize what kind of wonderment existed here. Never once did our attentions turn to the north or to the east or wherever it may have been at the time, and pulled us in. And then, by chance, suddenly, we both find ourselves here, as well as other parent defectors and other interesting individuals. We can't deny the effect that this place has, the draw to it that it has, whether it be divine or just because of how remarkable it is. It can't be denied, and so I'm not going to try to explain it away as anything more or less than miraculous. It's just trying to digest it all. Your life being as, and please excuse me for saying this, mundane as you've described it, and likewise mine, remarkable in perhaps its achievements, but very mundane in my experience, beyond the occasional mage thinking that throwing a ball of fire isn't going to have a catapult aimed in his direction.
Yes. Things definitely have changed very quickly. It is hard to get past the idea of the puppet on the string getting pulled along, but I at least have seen a glimpse into what is going on with the gods. I think that it is very much Adir itself has just had so much happen that it is just the Wondrous is drawn here. I am sure the stories we could tell in a year's time will be even more insane than those we could tell now.
I actually have a question for you, he says, nodding in agreement to what it is that you're saying. Prior, if it's not so bold, prior to your calling to come here, prior to your union with Val's spirit, were you a faithful man? Did you worship?
When I was a child, more so, then I wouldn't say I worshipped. I maybe, if someone asked, I would have said that I believed. Not sure that I did.
Who did you worship?
Lady Aravel, right, was the... Yeah, Lady Aravel.
What?
Not that I really remember much of the teachings.
What drew you away from her? Is this simply just became background in your life, or?
I think just the less happened in my life, the less seemed to be... Things just were. It wasn't a case of like the grand plan of gods or anything like that. It was just things were.
I'd like to believe that the grand plan of God still doesn't have its effect on most of us and most of our decisions.
I can tell you
less
from
so
what
here.
I've seen, the gods are, while they are powerful and they do have a plan, they have far less control over things than a lot of faiths seem to believe.
I ask because my whole life I've been devoted. We all have our multiple gods that we worship. The rare few will worship one over the rest, like for instance, Chosen of the Blade does. But overall, most of us worship several, or at least a few. I've always dually worshipped both the Martyr, he says, nodding towards you, and Lady Aravel. Peace and war being its own duality. Having the dedication and the training to do what needs to be done, but at the same time, the soothing hands to mend what is broken. It just made sense to me, my position in life. But since I've come here, I came with my faith and there were opinions of it, but I never gave up my worship. I held on to my worship of Lady Aravel, even if I did have to remove the sigil that I carried, the effigy that I carried. It was decision I made. Why would I give up my faith simply because I was given a position here? But then something transpired. My life was taken from me. Or nearly so. It's hard to understand exactly what happened when you're in that, when you're experiencing it. And then the Chosen of the Blade came with his companions 2 and 3. I believe you've met them, or at least one of them. They
I have.
did whatever ritual they did. And he actually will kind of like reach up and rub, like the way he's rubbing you as a PC that your character wouldn't necessarily know, over 2 of the 3 scars that he has on his chest. He says they did a ritual. And they saved me. I did not die that day. However, my viewpoint changed. I find it hard to worship Lady Aravel. Her teaching so rigid. Her cause so structured. So much so it almost puts you into a box that you can't get out of. It's almost too much. War, while you can do everything you can to train your soldiers, to add structure to it, to control the battlefield, it still is chaotic. This past war was still chaotic. And I was a bit off my... I was out of my element. I didn't feel the same way. I wasn't able to lead battles the way I always had before. It took me time to find my stride again. You weren't here, but I stumbled a few times during that war, and I can only attribute it to dice rolls. To the fact that this, I suppose, change of faith happened to take place. I don't know what exactly happened that day, but did you experience something like this? Where just your faith just changed on you, or at least your feelings for it, almost like you didn't care. Don't get me wrong, I still hold the martyr close to my heart. I send praise to above all other gods, but her above the rest, as opposed to in union with any others.
I think I did. The day that Val's soul came to me, but for more than just the reasons of Val coming in and saving me. That day, a lot of what I had believed was torn up, shaken around, and thrown to the ground. Val saved the souls of my sister and mother. Gave me the power to fight back against what was happening. The martyr stepped in. Erevel did not. As a worshipper of Kraleen torched my sister alive, she did nothing. But the martyr stepped in. Maybe it's something similar. Vrogar stepped in to save you. Even if it's through a proxy. Mine was Val. Yours was 1, 2, and 3. It's very easy to have everything change on you that quickly when someone comes to save you and you very much see that someone else doesn't.
I think our experiences are unfortunately a little bit different, though I do not share my body with the soul of another chosen. My experience, while my life was saved by the three of them, the chosen, the blade 2 and 3, it did not give me faith in Vroga. Vroga's ways are messy. I spent my entire life training for what I've become, and I was incredibly successful as a general or as a commander in the military, but as a general because of my training and the way I went about things. It's not just pen to paper. It's not just concept. It's proof of concept that way works. I could never give my heart, my everything to Vroga. He makes no sense to me. It baffles me. Sometimes it angers me in the approach that his sharpest worshippers bring to situations. But I don't know, it was more the severing that I was referring to as opposed to being given a faith. But perhaps our experiences were different. Yours was a loss of faith as you grew from a young child, and mine was something that happened suddenly, and I had to kind of catch up with afterwards. It's perhaps different experiences, but I thought I'd ask. One parent to another.
I think you're right. I think that's the way you describe it. Well, if I can help in any way, I'm always free to talk.
I appreciate it. Again, the martyr is who I hold dear, and losing Val was difficult. I'm not going to go into all the details. You already understand most of them well enough, I'm sure. But you guys talked about this before.
Yes, yeah.
But that was a trying time, and I nearly left the nation. And then losing the strongest connection that I had to this land was even more difficult. I stayed for its people. And for its people I continue to stay and serve. To which I then have my next question. I'm sorry to keep bothering you with such things, but we are both fully...
It's nothing, honestly. Anytime you have any questions, I am always available.
He nods. We're both fully aware of the fact that Paradel has seemingly come to to the southeast of these lands for the first time in the history of these lands, as far as we understand it.
Yes, the significance of that is not lost on me. The fact that they are, for the first time in a long, long time, taking an interest in a deer is a problem.
It is, but it's not one that we can't necessarily resolve. If we were to just craft war machines and bring them to the border of the river and start lobbing great flaming rocks at them, we will fall. They will collapse on us from the north. Our rivers will not defend us to the north. They will easily overtake Kurzfall and everything to the south of it. They'll push in and take the borders of every river along the way. They have incredible generals that command those different stations. I'm familiar with several of them, if not all of them, depending on who's holding what positions. My question isn't about the war, because I know we'd lose if we try to bare our teeth at them. My question is about the people. Did the people there ever care about this lands? Did the conversation of it, the gathering of it, even the visiting of it ever cross the minds of the people that you grew up with? The part of the nation that you spent your entire childhood?
So, can I try and think about the fact that, one, obviously, the childhood, thinking about anyone that I ever talked to, but also then, two, can I think about if anything changed in the chatter of people around about when the rumors of the undead also started sort of appearing? So about when the Arbiter ascended.
I can just answer that for you. Nobody ever really cared about it.
No,
The other side
okay.
from passing conversation of, oh yeah, that's right, that's up there, isn't it? And then is the undead thing. People are like, ah!
Yeah. Then he would just answer, honestly, no. I lived fairly close to the border all my life, and it didn't even cross my mind.
It's so funny because I always see how it's often like, because there's typos, we all typo, especially when you're trying to phonetically write a word. But even hearing people pronounce it, you pronounce how you want to, just like how people choose to pronounce Hermione, Hermione, however you want to pronounce it, right? You pronounce however you want. But the pronunciation that I put in there, it's the people are the Perrin, but the nation is Paradel. So
Paradel, yeah.
Yeah, Paradel, as opposed to Perindel, which is, again, I sometimes, I don't care. You do you. Tiefling, right? We all know Tiefling's correct.
Nope,
But yeah, see, even Tesh says it wrong. You know, it's fine. You know what I mean? I actually had that conversation again with my friend on Monday when I was like, "Are you familiar with the the tiefling tiefling argument. He's like, not really, but tiefling just sounds really stupid. He's like, I'm a demon race, so I'm a tiefling. I don't know. He's like, it lacks any like oomph. I was like,
I I will say I understand Tiefling, but for me it doesn't work in my head. Like my
it's also
brain
probably
just
how you got
goes, that's not
introduced to
right.
it. It's probably also how you got introduced to it,
That's
right?
probably right. Yeah.
So I've known it as tiefling since I was I want to say I was probably 12ish or so when I got introduced to the concept of it.
Yeah.
So so it's
I can
20
understand
years.
why
20
Tiefling
years.
would be like a thing in terms of why it would be that for a lot of people. It is in my head Tiefling, and I can also understand why that sounds stupid to some people, but it just works for in my head.
Yeah, I agree. Well, no, we don't need to track anymore. You throw a cup of tea at somebody, it makes sense. So so yeah, we'll just call it Cafefe instead. We'll just call them the Cafefe race. Or Kafif,
Oh,
or
God,
however,
no.
yeah, Cafefe. So yeah, sorry, going back to it, he says, I'm asking this because when finally we have to address this situation, and it's going to be soon, we need the people to the south to not want that land. One thing you have to understand about the inner workings of the Paradel is that the Turumbar want something, they push for it. The princes want something, they push for it. All of the trinity of leaders in each appropriate city-state want something, they push for it. But they still have people. And if they know that what they're pushing for is against the will of the people, they will not continue to push too hard. The issue is that usually the supply chain of information, the propaganda, if you will, pushes the people to want the things that they want. And so war turns. The expansion continues. Closing the open cyst or the gap that exists inside Paradel can be seen as a very positive thing to the people of Paradel. But if it can be seen as a negative thing, the costs are too great. The land is cursed. There's greater commerce that can be had, whatever it might be, by not closing this. If we can get the will of the people to not go that way, it can apply pressure to the commanders to hold back.
Interesting. Do you have any ideas about how we could do that?
No. I spent almost my entire life, almost my entire career, to the north and to the west of Adir. I fought the boundaries. I started the war against Yovance. I freed tens of thousands of slaves. I've brought the war to the wall of Amalta. I took countless acres of lands away from Tazian Dale. I spent my entire military career there, pushing against those enemies of the state. But my experience to the south and to the east is in Osto, is in Osto, is in the capital. Whether if I'm arriving there for some important meeting or perhaps honorifics being handed around, I arrive, I do what I need to do, and I leave. The quiet civilian life wasn't meant for me, which is why, as a retirement, I serve as a general.
There will be a little bit of a chuckle from Ilen there. Just, well, my brain just had a full on mental blank. It is Ravina that's the spy master. Yeah, maybe I can talk with Ravina, go through some ideas from what I know and what she can find out. There's already there was already talk of the undead, so people understand that Adir is dangerous. Maybe we can work with that.
Sully our name. Best way to keep them out, perhaps. Just something to keep in mind. You have to head north, and you've spent 2 days traveling to wind up nowhere. It's I'm sure you need your rest.
Oh, indeed. That's me as well.
And so he kind of like you guys reside to your own ways. In the morning, Crawl, you wake up and you can immediately tell, even though you're in a permanent structure, you actually have a building and whatnot over your head. You wake up in the morning and it's still relatively early. Crawl doesn't get as much sleep as perhaps he used to in life as he does in this, well, I guess life you're in. When you wake up, you can see the spirit is across the room from you. The building is empty. Nobody else is there. Staring out the window, you can hear the rain falling, still hitting the ceiling. It still sounds like a heavy downpour.
He'd look over and say, you should be careful.
Doesn't respond.
I'll try and snap him back into my consciousness.
She's like, you gotta rip him back into you?
Mm-hmm.
There's no check or anything, right? You just make it happen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so kind of gets like similar as I described before, and gets kind of like ripped back into you. Yep.
Cracking the whip, being like, "That's right, bitch, I'm in control."
It's okay. It leaves like a degree of ectoplasm. Like,
Was it the ectoplasm version? Was it? It wasn't the incorporeal.
He appeared and was literally standing there, and by pulling him back in without him being able to shed it first, yeah, you're goopy. Like, oh, that's a way to wake up. It's like waking up in cold sweats.
Ew.
Yeah, or if you know how to party, your own vomit.
He would just say in his head, then he'd say, "You ready to work together?"
He seems a little agitated by the fact that you did that. This isn't the first time you've had to do it to him, though, so you're familiar with that degree of agitation. He says, yes, I think we should stay around here a little bit more.
Why?
You're not familiar with these people. You're not familiar with this culture. Before we go elsewhere, we should take it in. Allow you to cut your teeth. A misstep that happens to exist here won't matter as much as one elsewhere. You could easily play it down and then walk away from it without it following you to haunt you that you made that mistake.
Fair enough. But answer me this. Before we get into why we're here, how did you fall? How did it end?
Chaos, bloodshed, and powerful unpredicted magics.
Vague, but more than you've given me before. But if you care to share a little more, could we not stop what happened?
I don't know. Our experiments were successful. He stops and thinks for a moment. Understand this. We wanted to make the perfect servants. We wanted them to serve us forever. And we made beings that were so powerful, they were able to transcend this life, as we discussed. We don't fully understand how it works, but we realized something. People that die don't go away. They go elsewhere. There is something called a soul, whatever word you want to use for it, spirit, I don't care. Choose a tongue. It does exist. This we know factually. It's been tested and experimented on. It exists. When you die, it doesn't just dissipate. It goes somewhere else. But it's still accessible. We've done this. We've experimented on it. We've pulled it back. We've asked it questions. We've done tests. Some spirits are heavier than others. Some people's lives, or maybe it's what they did with them. Maybe they were born that way. I don't know. But they're more valuable than others. They're heavier. We may all be created equally among our people, but we do not all die equally. And those lives that are heavier, they go somewhere else with more weight, more power. We know this too, because we can call them back. We can rip them from where they went and bring them here, and their power can be used. He draws you, like you could feel the pull, to the window that he was staring out of. You walk over there and look out it, and you see the massive roaring fire. It's fueled by such weight. We knew that these lives, or these deaths, or the souls, some part of them, was more valuable than other parts in some way. And so we thought to our next experiment. We tested on those. We made them heavier. Not just on the Perrin. For proof of concept to work, we needed to do it across the board. This was the experiments that was started before me, and the one that I took over. The one that I oversaw. It was in my rulership that we succeeded. Not only had we made, shortly after I took control, not only had we succeeded in making heavier souls, working off that success, we made, dare I say, the heaviest souls. We knew we succeeded through our experiments, but we didn't know how successful we were. There was chaos. There was bloodshed. The separatists acted. Coaxed, and they were coerced. They were manipulated by their own servants. They acted in a coordinated time. The servants rose up in a coordinated time. Bloodshed, as our kin fought themselves, heads filled with wrong ideas, chaos, as the servants stood up against their masters, outnumbering them but not outpowering them. They were kept weak intentionally, but that combined with... I lost my life not long after. So the reports are rumors and unverified by me because, well, I was dead. But it's rumored that they took their own lives. The two of them having understood what experiments were done to them. They understood the weight of their souls, and they knew that by taking their own lives, by martyring themselves, they were able to use the weight of their souls to cause a big enough splash. It was too much. It was a three-pronged effort. Those miserable cunts. Three in every way. I sometimes wonder. If there's another one. They have 3 Turumbar that each control 3 states, that each are controlled by 3 city-states, that are each controlled by 3 leaders. It works up and down their entire structure from the moment of their 3-pronged assault. I wonder, was there another one that I wasn't aware of? There was another experiment that we were working on. But again, I don't know if it was truly successful or not, because as the Separatists rose up, I lost the chain of news, of supply that I needed to control things. It was disrupted. We were working on a different entity. Less of the spiritual, less about the perfection of the soul, and more about perfection of the body. It was our 13th experiment. Our 13th Abstergo. It was supposed to be perfected in this world, and if proof of concept were to work, the next idea was to make the creature that was perfect in both worlds. But it wasn't meant for them. With proof of concept working both in the spiritual and the physical, it was supposed to start working on us. Things fell apart quickly. If it existed for only a short period of time.
Wow. It is a lot to take in. I feel that although we've gone back in time, in a weird way, time is still running out. Do you know how far we are from your demise? Are we years? Are we weeks, days?
There is no way I could know when the separatist movement started. I was the furthest removed from it, wasn't I?
Well, if it hasn't started, it may be time to change some things. Maybe. How did we get here? Do you know anything about that? How we traveled through time to come to your time again?
No, and yes. There were many different branches that studied many different things. As I said, there were those that were experimenting on the spiritual, on the actual weight of the soul. Try not to yawn. Sorry. Whew. Tried not to. It's not a big one. There were those that experimented on the weight of the soul. There were those that focused on that division. There were those that were focusing on the perfection of physical form. It's why you exist the way you do. Though, unfortunately, your genetic pool has altered from what it was. He says, kind of like you can feel him in your mind gesturing to his spiritual self, even though he has no physical form, to what it's become. Your stock is weaker. Your body's less capable than ours because you've lost your breeding rituals. Doesn't matter. There are those that also worked on the different magics, manipulating the energies that came from these beings that we were able to pull back to us. There's also another group. They were working on a different type of research. They believed that there was, if we were able to pull these kind of magics in from one world or a group of worlds that existed beyond this one, and pulling in the weight of these heavy souls to fuel our magics. Perhaps there are other worlds stretching out in different directions that they could pull in different type of magic. I'm not familiar with it because it was never magically capable. I read the reports and followed through. It's believed there was an entire world. They would use the word a transitive world. He kind of does this thing that he does with you sometimes where he almost puppets your body. And again, most of the time you'll allow him to do these things where you can feel him outstretching your arm and your arm kind of like follows suit, outstretching it. It's a weird feeling to describe as he does this thing. To any of you out there that have ever experienced being inside of like a drama class or any other like trust-based classes, whether it be with work or otherwise, there's these moments where you kind of like stand opposite each other, looking in each other's eyes, and one of you will be the lead, the other will be the follow, and you kind of like switch back and forth without even noting to each other who's taking over at the time. One person doing physical gestures and the other one mirroring. It's called literally mirroring. Following the person's gestures to the best of your ability until the two of you become like rather at sync with one another. It's a feeling kind of like that where you almost intuitively, by staring into their eyes and just using the periphery of your vision, following their motion, you start like mirroring his motions. You feel it on the inside even though your eyes don't have that cue. Anyways, it's a strange feeling that your character experiences. Going back to it, you feel him kind of like outstretching your arm, and to a light nearby, and it's kind of like looking down at the shadow beneath. There's a plane where there's shadows exist, shadows of this world. He says this world, but shadows of this world. Literally, it is this world, but not as we see it. Just the shadows of it, where perspective is twisted, and so the world is twisted. He steps to the side, again leading your feet and outstretching your arm, so you can see that the shadow nearest you is rather small and short, but where your outstretched arm is, the shadow stretches significantly longer. Those that can find themselves in this world can see that the places that they wish to go to can be very, very far. Their distance between here and there seemingly stretched beyond reason, though perhaps not beyond measure. Yet sometimes that stretching bends in your favor. Places that you want to go to seem to stretch from its incredible distances to be close to you, rather than the great distance it is meant to be, and you can traverse it very rapidly. There was a report I recall reading some time ago where there is a transitive place such as this, but it's not twisted shadows or distance. Instead, where time itself twists. It was theorized that perhaps you can manipulate such things to do that. We had certain locations that we constructed. You're familiar with some of them. You've been in the keep in my home, the mountain region to the west. That is where I chose to rest my crown, unlike other emperors before, which chose other lands. There is another one to the southeast. It was one that was meant to be found to traverse such places. It was a place that you can use to launch yourself through its very formation into other worlds. Whether if you wanted to visit the shadows or other areas, time, a place called the astral, where neither time nor space exists. It's, again, I'm sorry for these. He actually doesn't say that. He says, again, these are not things that I've mastered. They're things that were overseen by those beneath me. It was a way to launch yourself to those locations. I know that they were researching such things. That's all I can offer beyond that.
Well, if it allows us possibly to go to whenever we want, it may be of use.
It is possible that perhaps we should traverse ourselves to the southeast.
I would agree. Let me ask you, what would you do if we sought you out and told you all of what was to happen? You spoke to yourself, and he'll bring him forward in his ethereal form.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen then?
I don't know. I don't know how time works. I don't know if you can see yourself. I don't know if you can affect your past. But let's say for a moment we did. Let's go down this thought bubble for a moment. I have to admit I'm surprised that you're intrigued by such a thing. Let's say we were able to alter it in such a way that I do not fall, that the experiments continue, perfection is achieved. Let's say this happens. What of you? Because you died and I came to you, because I saved your body and your soul from the brink and brought it back as my vessel, would that mean that you would never have been born? Or are we forever linked and you're able to stay here? What does this mean of you? Because certainly if my empire were to exist, whatever chance came about to have your two parents stumbling in the dark at the night that they did, the time that they did, would cause you. Because you need to understand the timing of conception is very important. Literally the way that the moons are in the sky affect which child will be born. Everything has an effect, and it's all down to a very minute studied science. This is something that I have a mastery over, because this is what it means to be emperor of the mole.
If I don't exist, if we did that, and I wouldn't exist, then your current form attached to me would probably not exist itself.
Which means that perhaps we never did come back in the past, or I don't know again how these things work. The very concept of it was introduced to me as it was introduced to you.
So you think we should travel southeast in the shadows?
No, I don't know how to do this. I'm not, again, a master of these magics. But I can say that those that are familiar with bending fire, that also have tested and learned how to traverse through shadow, they are the greatest at closing distances.
Well, we should seek their help. However, and he rubs his rotting scar, I'm not the most persuasive. You'll need to help me. Maybe speak through me if I fumble. We need them.
I understand. They are tools. Out of game too. They are tools. And we must wield them correctly. Some tools need to be polished. Some tools need to be maintained. And occasionally, some tools need to be worked to the point that they break and then replaced.
Well, you won't be replacing me anytime soon. Nor are you.
I, endlessly bound to you, must maintain your form. You need more fiber.
He'll strangely laugh to himself, which Kroll doesn't tend to do. He'll say, well, if they ask, I can say I'm assigned to researching spirits. We know a bit, as well as I have some power over them. He chuckles again. But we should gather our servant, and we should get one of these mole to take us to this realm of shadow.
Can I be honest?
Southeast.
I'm going to be honest with you, Kroll. I didn't think I was going to trust you like this, but I will. I didn't ask you to rest the night for no reason. This storm, I truly believe our ability to travel to this past is linked to the weather that we're experiencing. When the downfall started, I felt the pull. As we traveled through it, we stumbled here. The storm seems like it's going to be letting up soon. I could feel it starting to wane. I was trying to convince you to stay, because I was thinking to myself, if we stay and wait out the storm, perhaps we'll still be stuck here. Perhaps we'll be staying here for good. I miss this place. It might be what I need to do to stay here. I'm no longer going to trick you. What do you think? Do we wait out the storm and stay hundreds of years in the past? Or do we go to the future and find this temple?
I have nothing. My life was over when she died. There's nothing for me there. I guess I'm looking for something. Something I don't know. Somewhere to belong. Somewhere where you're not the only thing that I have. But can we not stay in the past and travel to this place? Try and seek mastery over time in this time? Or must we go back?
Depending on what year this is, it's possible that the magics we're discussing, this ability to enter this traversable plane of time, don't exist yet. I selfishly want to stay here. But now that I know that you're willing to play ball, you and I becoming more and more in union with one another, I am less concerned about manipulating you to be my aide, to stay here and have to help me because you're lost. I don't think we need to stay. I think we can go back and still be successful. Because then we would have the aid of not the Empire and a time when it falls, but the aid of these chosen and what tools they have available.
We could. However, do you think maybe that we could either trick or bring willing one of these masters of the shadow with us? Let them leave and let them come with us and Raerin and return to that time. Maybe, I'm guessing obviously that you will are the imperialist faction. What if we find a loyalist amongst these people?
I'm the damn Empire. I am the Emperor itself. I certainly
yes, I
hope you
forgot.
assume I'm of the imperialist faction.
True.
Krull, sometimes I wonder about you.
Look, it's not morning time for me, okay?
You're Australian, I get it. You still bow to
say,
the queen.
yeah.
You know, I get it.
I'm amazed I made it this long. Like, so
Yeah, what if we try and find a loyalist? Someone who will obey once we return.
I'm the Senate. I'm sorry. He says, it's possible. Now we just need to convince that fool.
It shouldn't be too hard. He would hardly want to stay in this time.
He's spent his evening lying next to some poor girl.
Yes. And
I don't know how you convince something as some creature as base as he is.
we'll
Raerin
just
is a
tell him
fool.
we're going,
He nods.
and we'll go.
Yeah, he just nods. So it's just one of those like, ugh. Like just the idea of dealing with Raerin is very upsetting for him for, as you know, a good layer of reasons. One, the god who Raerin is the chosen of is unfortunately literally bitch slapped this guy, but Krull of course didn't see it. Raerin himself is the reason why he is in the state that he is instead of having the opportunity of being better, because Raerin's like, fuck it, let's kill him. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's like, anyways. So the two of you have an understanding of what's going to go on. Neil is actually back from what he was doing. So we're going to take a quick break and pull Neil into the call. But before I do so, I actually want to kind of announce something that I hadn't announced before. Neil wasn't here because he had to take care of something pertaining to work or school or whatever. I have a little surprise for all of you that you guys didn't know that you wanted and needed. I was going to announce next week that the following week, the 30th, was our last session. Neil, unfortunately, had to go back to school, work, whatever it was, and it filled this time slot, and on Wednesdays he became completely unavailable. And I had to make a decision, and I was going to continue doing a campaign in this time slot, but we were going to end Kingmaker to make it work, because Neil wasn't going to be able to be here, and just eliminating one of the PCs, not one of the chosen, one of the PCs, wasn't going to work out. But Neil had to make a hard decision because of COVID and everything else that's going on. And over the weekend, he decided to make decisions in his life that coincidentally allow him to continue being available this time. So we are not ending this campaign. This campaign is able to continue, or at least this group of PCs are able to continue playing together as long as they would like to do so. So,
you just sent chat on an emotional roller coaster. Yeah, holy shit, my heart.
listen, it's better than emotional.
Hey, how do you think we feel? We've known for
Yeah, this is we
weeks
have been.
now.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Alright.
It's been rough. Okay, it is not. Someone.
Fucking, you think you guys are going through a lot right now?
You want to hear something really, really terrible? I asked Scott if when I found out, that we were ending, if I could bring Grishka back, and he was like, no. So just saying, how do you think I felt? Okay.
Yeah, I
Stop
mean,
thinking about yourselves and think about me.
when Jake watches Regicide and doesn't trump card them, just so you know, he does so with the understanding that Regicide made it so his character can't come back from another plane of existence, and his character would not be coming back potentially ever. So the fact that this is the fact that this is happening is very recent news for us. We've known for maybe 36 hours, and so it's pretty exciting.
I
that we don't
knew
have to end
for
the campaign.
about 3 because I didn't see the message yesterday, so I was excited when I got on the call for today. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm very excited that we don't have to end the game. We're able to keep pushing on, so on and so forth. I'm sorry, but like, I love Throne Keeper. You know, they're cool with, I don't even know what they do. And I love Regicide. They're super cool with, you know, they're ruining everybody else's games. And I certainly love my new campaign, Aurora. Oh, I'm not telling you about that other campaign because it's still a secret, but it's totally not in the ocean. Anyways, so it's totally nowhere near the ocean. But, you know, Kingmaker's the first one, and it's my baby, and Neil just forced his way into the call without my permission. So, oh, jeez, everything.
All right, so clip it and ship it. Kingmaker, Scott's favorite campaign. All right, let everyone else know.
No, it's the baby.
Shout it out.
It's my baby.
Don't clip it. Don't clip it.
Yeah, we don't.
They know.
No. Gosh. All right. We should really take a break. I'm sure a lot of people, viewers and PCs alike, would like to take a piss. So I certainly need to go actually grab some degree of breakfast.
The next Aurorum campaign is actually Aurorum Freeboat, and it's just got Freebird on loop for the entire background, just on loop. That's it.
That sounds not
Josh
fun.
is in it.
Oh, jeez. All right. Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm trying to fix my overlay as we're going, and it's getting all fucky. So, all right, let's go jump to our break, and I will finish fixing this because I'm doing it.
I thought it'd be cruel, mess it up for you.
Oh no, it's cool. I don't mind. You were going to be doing so anyways. It's just a matter of getting it lined up. Which actually, I just finished fixing it in 3, 2, 1. And let's go take a break. Everybody go pee. Bye. See you right back. Be right back. Oh, Hype Train started.
Oh my
Hello,
God.
Hype Train started. Ooh. If we complete...
Level 5 hype train, and I'll slap Neil again.
Level 5 Hype Train.
God damn it. Jake knows the viewers.
It's already level 3. Jesus. Level 5 Hype Train, and he'll slap Neil again. And we'll do something else. I'll think of what it is while I'm taking a piss. Be right back, everybody.